Hello everyone. I'm Kajal and today we are going to discuss the fifth chapter of the 8th standard students. In the last video we had discussed about the neurons, the structure of neurons, as well as the central nervous system. About the brain part we had discussed that the cerebrospinal fluid is present, and today we are going to discuss the three parts of the brain. Brain is dividing into three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Now first part is known as a forebrain. Forebrain is the interior part of the brain. The cerebrum forms the largest part of the forebrain. This is the largest part and the name of that largest part is cerebrum. Cerebrum is dividing into two halves, the right cerebral hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere. The cerebral hemispheres are shaped like kidneys and are partially separated from each other with a deep groove. Between that cerebral hemispheres, one groove is there, and the outer surface of is full of folds. Like this one, you are able to see in this diagram. The folds are present in the cerebrum part. What is the function of these folds? These folds are increasing the surface area, and that is helpful to accommodate the maximum neurons in that grooves. In that folds for the intelligence, as well as the cell bodies is most of the neurons. The neurons are having in the diagram, see in this diagram, you have read that this upper part is known as star shaped part is known as cell body, and this is the axon part. Now in this one, see the upper the cell bodies of most of the neurons are located in the upper layers of the cerebral hemispheres, and they are giving the grayish appearance. That means the cell bodies that are present in the upper parts of these folds, they are forming the gray matter of the there in that part. Next thing is that the axons of most neurons forms bundles which appear white in color and thus are called white matter. The white matter is mostly found in the deeper parts of the cerebrum, so that is present in the deeper part, in the lower parts. The interior of the cerebrum has three interconnected cavities called ventricles, and that are filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. So cerebrospinal fluid is present in the ventricles of the brain. The cerebrum is a center of intelligence. This is the functions of the forebrain, the cerebrum part. These are the functions of that. It is the center of intelligence, as well as different areas of the cerebrum are concerned with the learning, memory, emotion and reasoning. Other areas coordinate our voluntary activities and make us feel sensations like pain, heat, and also control speech and senses of touch, smell, sight, hearing and taste. So cerebrum part is responsible for all these functions. Next part is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a small area of the forebrain. It is linked to the pituitary gland to the controls the endocrine system. It also controls many emotional reactions like fear and anger. So hypothalamus control fear and anger of a human body. So these are the two parts of the forebrain. First part is cerebrum and the second part is hypothalamus. Second part of the brain is the midbrain. This small region connects the forebrain with the hindbrain. This is the function of the midbrain. It is connecting the forebrain with the hindbrain, the lower part of the brain, third part, and the spinal cord. It also controls the eye adjustment we need to make in order to see. Where we are showing or where we are indicating toward that point, we are also seeing. So that coordination is made by the midbrain. The hindbrain, third part of the brain is hindbrain. This is the posterior part of the brain and is located below the forebrain. Below the forebrain it is present. List of the three parts: cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. See, this part is known as the hindbrain. Cerebellum part, pons part and medulla oblongata. The cerebellum is smaller than the cerebrum and is located below it towards the back of the skull. This is the location of the cerebellum. The surface of the cerebellum has a large number of thinly spaced parallel grooves. Here the number of folds are present, but in the cerebellum the parallel grooves are present, and that are irregular, like in the shape in a leaf. The veins are present like that. These are present in irregular shape. The cerebellum too is made up of large number of neurons. The gray matter of cerebellum is found in the upper layers, and white matter is present or buried in the deeper within the structure like cerebrum. A fourth ventricle filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. In the cerebrum we had discussed about the three ventricles and a third ventricle, and in this one the fourth ventricle is present, that is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid, lies between the cerebellum and the upper part of medulla oblongata. It is connected the third ventricle through a thin duct. The cerebellum coordinates our movement, both voluntary and involuntary. This is the main function of the cerebellum part. This one, it maintains the body posture and balance and help us to learn the new movement. It is also controlling or maintaining our balance and posture. Why the people those are taking alcohol becoming imbalanced? Due to the effect on the cerebellum part. In that sense, the drugs are affecting their cerebellum part and they are losing their balance as well as the postures. The pons lies above the medulla oblongata. Pons is present on the above the medulla oblongata. It relays the information from the forebrain to the cerebellum. It is relaying the information from the forebrain part to the cerebellum part. It also helps to control the functions such as sleep, breathing, swallowing, bladder function, hearing, taste, eye movement, facial expression, facial sensations, balance and postures. So these functions are controlled by the pons of our brain. The medulla oblongata lies in front of the cerebellum part. It is lying in front of that at slightly lower level and connects the spinal cord, and it is connecting the spinal cord with the brain, and it controls involuntary actions such as heartbeat, breathing, sneezing, coughing, swallowing, vomiting, movement of the alimentary canal, and secretion by the gland. Means the actions those are not under our control. The midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata together make the brain stem. Now the midbrain parts, pons, medulla oblongata together make the brain stem. Now the midbrain parts, pons and medullas join connectively make the brain stem of the brain. And read this table. From this the functions of whole parts of the brain will be clear to you. Next we are going to discuss about the spinal cord. Now the spinal cord is the bundle of nerves arranged in a cylindrical fashion with a narrow canal called a central canal. So in the spinal cord the bundle of nerves are connected there, and in the center one canal is present, that is known as central canal. It arises from the medulla oblongata and runs down entire length of the vertebral column. Here is the diagram of the spinal cord. It is starting from the medulla oblongata and ends at the vertebral column, protected by the vertebrae. Like the brain, and the spinal cord is covered with the meninges. They have a cerebrospinal fluid between them. So here also cerebrospinal fluid is present. The central canal continues from the fourth ventricle of the brain and is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. Gray matter is present within the spinal cord surrounding the central canal, while white matter lies toward the surface of the spinal cord. Here the arrangement of the white and gray matter is opposite as compared to the brain, as compared to the cerebrum part and the cerebellum part. Spinal cord relays message to and from the brain through the nerves. This is the main function of the spinal cord. It is relaying the message to and from the spinal cord from the brain. Next is peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is the bundle of nerves that are connected the central nervous system with the all parts of the body. Altogether it comprises of 43 pairs of the nerves. From that 12 are arising from the brain, that are known as the cranial nerves, and 31 from the spinal cord, that are known as the spinal nerves. And each pair of nerves consists of sensory nerve that carries the message to the brain or the spinal cord from the effector organ, as well as the motor nerves also that carries the message from the brain or the spinal cord to the effector organ. The nerves have the innumerable branches which are included in the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system carries the impulse to and from the sensory organs to the brain, as well as conveying message from the brain to the effector organs too. The peripheral nervous system has two components. Somatic nervous system means voluntary nervous system, and autonomic nervous system means involuntary nervous system. Now somatic or a voluntary nervous system means the nervous system that are under our control. It carries the information from our sense organs and regulates the movement of the skeletal muscles accordingly. Means that like the movement and the posture, the our hand movement like that are under our control, so that are the voluntary nervous system. Next is autonomic nervous system or the involuntary nervous system, that activities are not under our control. For example, our heartbeat, sweating, breathing, activity of digestion organs, secretion from the glands or excretion also, that are not under our control, and these are controlled by the medulla oblongata. This system is may be divided into the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Now these systems function is complementary fashion. In the complementary fashion, while the former raises the level of a organ's activity, say during the stress or danger, the later decrease the organ's activity. For example, you need more oxygen during the physical exercise. In response to this, the nerves of sympathetic nervous system act to increase the rate of heartbeat to supply the more oxygen, and once you are at the rest, no longer require extra oxygen, so parasympathetic nervous system decrease the rate back to the normal. In the activity, they had given you one example that when you need more energy, in that situation your sympathetic nervous system activates and it provides a more supply of oxygen to your body to overcome that situation. And when you are coming at the state of rest, your body no longer needs that energy, extra energy, so in that situation parasympathetic nervous system again keeping your body on the rest state and making you normal again from that situation. Next is reflex action. Now what do you mean by reflex action? The immediate action or the action that is not involved by the conscious thought, that is coming in unconsciously. Rather, it is autonomic response to a stimulus requiring swift action also. For example, you instantly blink when a strong light is flashed in your eyes, and when you are touching a hot iron also, you are reacting immediately, so that is also a reflex action. Withdrawing one's hand instantly when it touches a hot object accidentally. Protecting one's head when with one's head, or bending it down or sideways to save it from object rushing toward it. Adjusting one's posture to avoid falling, and coughing, sneezing, yawning, and hiccups. So these are the few reflex actions. Next is reflexes do not involve the brain directly. It is a spinal cord with the help of peripheral nervous system. So reflex actions are controlled by the spinal cord only. And the mechanism of action is different from the involved in involuntary activities controlled by the autonomic nervous system. In case of reflex action, a message from the sensory cells or receptors that have been stimulated or sent via sensory neuron. Now, what is happening in the reflex action? Our response is sending by the sensory neurons from the effector organ to our brain or spinal cord, and afterward the motor neurons are carrying that answer from the brain and the spinal cord and sending back to the effector organ and telling that effector organ to behave accordingly. So that is the action, and that transmission of impulse, that route of a impulse is known as a reflex arc. Most of the reflex actions are meant to protect us from the danger, because that is happening unconsciously to for our protection only. Here is one example, one diagram is given to you. Whenever a doctor is hammering on our muscles, okay, when the doctor hammer on our knee, then what is happening? The knee jerk reflection takes place. Now what do you mean by knee jerk reflex? Sorry, knee jerk reflex. The doctor taps on the tendon just above the knee with the hammer. This taps stretch a group of muscles in front of the thigh, that is known as quadriceps. Means by this action the quadriceps are coming in the active state. And famous, this stimulates activates stretch receptors with the muscles, which send an impulse to the spinal cord via sensory neuron. From here, so via sensory neuron, stretch receptors are sending the message to the spinal cord, and afterward the axon of the sensory neuron has two branches. One of the branches synapse on the motor neuron, which carries the impulse back to the quadriceps familius, triggering that their contraction. The other branch synapse on an interneuron, a connecting neuron which synapses on the other motor neuron that carries an impulse to the hamstring muscle at the back of the thigh, and hamstring muscle relax in the response to the impulse. The knee jerks upward due to the simultaneously contraction of the quadriceps familius and relaxation of the hamstring muscles. Now two reactions takes place. One thing is that the quadricep is getting that action, and due to that is stretching and contracting again, and the hamstring becoming coming into the relaxation position. So that action is sending by the spinal cord, and due to that accordingly that our muscles are reacting. So this was the topic. Hope you understood. Thank you.